when we were all growing up as kids, and probably even early on in our, as we all, the three of us, because you're a few years behind us, but even when we started practicing law, the sentiment was, whether it was Republican or Democrat running, tough on crime. And that phrase, you don't see that anymore. And the phrase is criminal justice reform. That's the buzz phrase now that everybody seems to be running on, right? It's how do we reform our criminal justice system? So what I want to know from both of y'all, you, Josh, being the outsider, what are the ideas of criminal justice reform that you want to bring to the bench? And you, having been on the bench, what are you hoping to either continue or bring changes should you get elected again? So whoever wants to start off on that,
sure.
Go ahead.
I guess I'll go. Why not? For me, I think people are starting to finally realize that being tough on crime and locking somebody up doesn't really help anything other than to teach somebody how to survive in prison. When you learn how to survive in prison, you take those skills back to the streets where you end up back in prison. And that doesn't help anybody, doesn't make the community safer. It does for that one individual while they're locked up, but there are other people to fill that space. And then when they get back out of prison, they're more dangerous. It doesn't help anybody. I'd like to see, and I think it's the direction the system is trying to go, and I think it's the direction the system will go if judges don't get in the way, is for more of a get to the root of the problem. What's causing the problem? If it's drugs, is it truly an addiction, or is it an addiction to cover up a mental health issue? Is it socioeconomic? Is it based on where you came from, what you know? Can we give you tools that can help you succeed and pull you out of this system so you can be successful? So I would like to see a more rehabilitative look at the criminal justice system. I think everybody you look at, and I think as defense attorneys, prosecutors, judges, all kind of have the same feeling of, is this somebody who did something wrong, or is this somebody that terrifies us?
You said that if judges don't get in the way. What do you mean by that?
Some judges, and I wouldn't include Kristin in this, some judges...
I wondered the same thing.
Yeah. Some judges will look at the defendants in their court, and they try to, I guess, judge them, or they look at them as if, well, you should be more like me, right? People that have probationers in their court, and they say, well, I could do it, why can't you? Well, I, as the judge, whoever that may be, maybe had certain privileges growing up. Maybe they had family money. Maybe they had the ability to get the education they want. Maybe they've never had an addiction issue, or maybe they don't have certain family issues that cause them to go down these paths. So they can't connect, they don't understand whatsoever. So when they see somebody who's completely different from them with a different background or mental health problems that they just don't understand, they're saying, well, why didn't you make it to your probation meeting? Or you're on a probation for drugs, why did you hit the pipe again? I don't get it because you should be like me. I think that's part of the problem. Mm-hmm. If a judge doesn't understand or doesn't try to understand what these people are going through, they don't understand the recovery process.
Maybe you can shed some light into it, because I'd imagine that as a judge, you have to deal with a number of things and situations that you did not deal with as a prosecutor or a defense attorney, because you're a judge now. You might have had some issues with it, but when you are sentencing somebody or providing conditions on somebody or putting somebody on probation, what tools and resources are available to you as a judge, and how do you use them?
So to answer your question first, Jimmy, and then because it kind of loops in, I think it's important for people to understand, whether they're judges or just another part of the system, that the vast majority of people that we send to prison are coming out, right?
Right.
And our prisons aren't equipped to rehabilitate people. Some people need to go to prison. The nature of the crime, their criminal history, whatever. There are a ton of factors.
Yep.
But prisons are just sort of holding cells. There are a couple of programs in prison now, one of which I work with, Prison Entrepreneurship. I know that you know it, JV. It's a program near and dear to my heart because it truly transforms lives. I would like to see, in terms of reformation of the system, state jail, do job training, do addiction recovery. All of these add-on programs have been chipped away budgetarily in the legislature, and if they could be replaced, Star Court is a perfect example. We save money. Ultimately, over the course of decades of somebody's involvement in the criminal justice system, if we can get them into star court, get them sober, get them jobs, and get them on their feet, they're not coming back. And so I think what the system in whole needs to be more cognizant of is that the majority of the people that we serve in criminal justice are on the margins already. Best case scenario, many of them made a bad decision. But if we're willing to give them a second chance, it has to be a true second chance. It can't be a, I'm going to put you here and wait for you to mess up and then send you to prison. If I put somebody on probation, especially over the objection of the state, I have to put skin in the game, and I have to give them every opportunity and resource to succeed. So part of how I do that, we've got, of course, the Texas Risk Assessment Screening Evaluation that sort of gives the judges an idea of risk assessment and programs that they may need in order to succeed. But a lot of it really just is my 18 years in criminal justice, right? 10 years as a prosecutor, 4 years as a defense attorney. I've stood in both sides. I know the issues when the lawyers are frustrated either with the other lawyer or their clients. I've been in those shoes. I've had those frustrations. Yep. And so in assessing punishment, especially for probations, I try to use all of those tools and all of those experiences to guide me.